Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today we'll be talking a little bit about the first episode of Dynamite on TBS. I actually did sit down and watch this since this is the first time I've actually got to watch a show of Dynamite as it aired on TV, where I right now do not have TNT. I had only been watching via YouTube. But now that I have TBS, well, I've had TBS for a while, but now that I've got to see the show in person, it was nice. This episode in particular was really fairly well done. The opening match of Hangman Adam Page and Bryan Danielson was an enjoyable one. You have it is about a 35-minute slugfest. And one thing is, they didn't bother to cut out any of the footage. When they went to commercial, it was picture in picture. So you saw the commercial on one side and the show continue on in a picture on the other side. So that was well done. The match between Hangman and Danielson was pretty decent. Not the best I've ever seen, but they played it up. Both contenders bleeding profusely. But Hangman, of course, did hold on to his belt. MJF came out. He wanted to, for the next match, MJF come out. He wanted to try to build up his resume, as he wanted to try to contend for a title. So he was going to beat up on Shawn Dean. He comes out, steps in the ring with Shawn Dean. The bell rings, but here comes CM Punk running down the ramp. Gets in, forces MJF to back out of the ring, try to get away. And there's a bit of war words between Punk and MJF, and Punk's basically telling him, you wanted to contend for titles, say you're after titles, but you're out here building yourself up with the low-end talent. And MJF even threatens, sort of halfway out of the side of his mouth, that he would go to WWE. Punk says, you can... He doesn't mention WWE by name, of course, but he says, you can go there, you can get quit, and I will still be here. You can get fired, and I will still be here when you come back. Basically telling him he's got no choice but to face CM Punk at some point. But they put Wardlow in Punk's past, so that'll be next week's match. Next match, I believe, was the finals of the TBS Women's title. Ruby Soho, Jade Cargill. Pretty standard affair, but I think Jade had a pretty convincing win. They tried to play up the Melissa Martinez angle, because she comes out like she's going to attack Ruby Soho after Ruby's fell out of the ring while Jade's still in the ring. Here comes Thunder Rosa, and they fight back to the back. So yeah, they're really playing up that little feud. So next you have let's see. I think it was Wardlow, and Wardlow just beat up a enhancement talent wrestler. Let's see. And the final match was Jurassic Park versus the Lucha Brothers, with Jurassic Park winning the titles for their first title reign. Some notable backstage segments. Ruby Soho's hurting, and Britt Baker and Hayter and Rebel all come out, and they talk trash to Soho, but Soho's like, you can't even beat your next opponent. You have yet to do so. And she kind of gets on Britt's nerves, and Britt attacks her. And here comes Riho to help out Ruby. And yeah, it's a pretty good entrance. So they've set up a next week match, Riho and Ruby versus Britt and Jen. So, and the other interesting little backstage piece they did was Jim Ross interviewing Serena Deeb, talking about her feud with Hikaru Shida. But yeah, all in all, wonderful show. I think they did pretty decently. And apparently, instead of Friday Night Rampage, they're going to have it on Saturday night with the TNT title on the line. And I think it's the women's title. I'm not sure, but yeah. Anyway, that's where we've set the stage. A great debut for TBS. It feels like the old days of watching WCW on TBS. JR and Shivani on commentary. It coming on a wrestling show coming on TBS. It reminds me of the days, so there was almost a bit of nostalgia to that, which Jericho did kind of have a segment as well talking about that. Last time I was here on a wrestling show on TBS was on Friday night, and I lost to Booker T. And he quips, I still think he cheated. But anyway, yeah, there's a feeling of enjoyment, and I can't wait till next Wednesday to watch some Dynamite. So yeah, the only shows I can watch on TV had been Impact on Thursday nights and Friday night SmackDown. Well, now I can watch AEW Dynamite on Wednesday nights. So that's something I may start doing, is a little push down on each one of these. But that's all I kind of wanted to talk about. I enjoyed it. It was a fun event, and I like how they've started out their life on TBS. But as always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tries to tell you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll see you all in the next episode. Until then, later.